live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. Glad to be with everybody here today. Hopefully, I'm getting everything right here. Actually, I forgot to do something. So, since we haven't actually formally started yet, okay, welcome back to the No State Project here on my YouTube channel. No State Project, of course, live every Wednesday at 3 Pacific Standard Time, and every Saturday we're back on a regular schedule. Although, since now I mentioned I'm back on a regular schedule, I still have some things to do with my father-in-law's estate, so we will be going back this weekend. But that's not something that's going to happen every single Saturday. Might miss maybe one other show besides this Saturday. So this is episode 123 of the Wednesday broadcast. It is August 21st, 2019, and appreciate everyone's continued support of the big show. Marc in the Midwest, of course, Eyal in Israel, and Nelson, Chris in Northern California, Bill and Dan in New Hampshire. Appreciate that. Don, appreciate everybody's support. If you'd like to help support the big show, you can do so at markstevens.net. And also markstevens.selz, that's SELZ.com. That's markstevens.selz.com. And I got a bunch of stuff to get to here today. I did kind of a little social experiment, and I knew, if you can call it that, but I had an idea, a pretty good idea of how this individual was going to respond. And he's a typical MAGA head. This is a guy that has his head so far up Trump's ass that facts, logic, he's completely immune from anything like that. And everything negative about Trump is fake news. Even when you're using just the man's words and tweets, it's all fake news. It is aloha, mahalo. It's absolutely astounding to me, the cult of personality that surrounds this Captain Bonespur, that literally nothing negative about this man is believed. And I'm struggling to find another well-known individual, male or female, that has the adoration and that there's nothing, literally nothing the man can do or woman that they can do that would cause somebody not to support them anymore, or to actually ding the facade that they're decent people. Even when you give some of the evangelical type religious types that support him, and you give them concrete evidence that he is as immoral as they come, God works through imperfect people. Holy crap! I don't even have the words to explain, because I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this before, where and it's not everybody, obviously, but there's this core base that literally nothing he says or does will cost him any votes, or have anybody have any less of a grand view of him. And so this individual, who I've known, I haven't lived on Long Island since '93. So we're, it's kind of one of them friends on Facebook thing, but I did grow up with this individual. So I've known him since I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I had an idea that, like typical MAGA head, that you cannot have a rational adult discussion with a MAGA head. One of these anti-immigrant just thinks that Democrats are retarded, that they're literally retarded, and these people who will support Trump no matter what. It doesn't matter that he lies and 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 lies. It doesn't matter. Well, all politicians lie. Well, then why are you so against Democrat politicians? Why do you hate Democrats so much that you'll support somebody that even Republicans like Lindsey Graham said was a racist and was an idiot? Why? What's the difference? So I knew going in. So one of the things that really irks the hell out of me is the constant beating of the drum that immigrants, so-called illegal immigrants, are the be-all end-all of all white European problems. And they like, well, I'm not a racist. I'm not against immigration. I'm just against illegal immigration. So my thing was, that's complete BS. I think you just don't like immigrants. They're the latest scapegoat. Well, they've always been a scapegoat, but more intensely now. So it's not because you are against, because if because what I wanted to do was give some the opportunity to prove me right, that it's not about immigration, it's about immigrants. And so what you notice with these people is they're never posting anything calling for the jailing of someone like Joe Grendy, who is the CEO of Koch Foods. Now, a few weeks ago in Mississippi, there was an ICE raid. It was at Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And some like 680 so-called illegal aliens or immigrants were arrested and separated, and they're incarcerated and separated from their families. But these MAGA heads, I have never seen them post anything calling for Joe Grendy and the rest of the management of Koch Foods, who employed and violated immigration and American law. I know, just hear me out. I'm just making a point. They're never calling for them to be arrested. So I said, well, if you really are just for law and order, then why aren't you screaming at the top of your lungs that Koch Foods all should be prosecuted and possibly have their business forfeited because they're committing felonies on a grand scale? Well, if something like that comes through my feed, then I'll post it. I don't write these memes. I just repost them when they come through my feed. So I made a thing where I showed Joe Grendy, who's the CEO of Koch Foods. And then I showed and right next to him was a picture of these people being arrested, people that he had employed. And I stated, just as to see the response, I support the equal treatment of CEOs and management with so-called illegal aliens. If the aliens are arrested, arrest the damn CEOs. And of course, he didn't post it. So I fact-checked something, and this is something I'm probably just beating a dead horse at this point. You cannot fact-check a MAGA head. They don't care. It was like a flashback to high school. And then some other guys from high school started pigpiling on me. I'm being called a faggot, a liberal cuck, just an a-hole. Like, first of all, I'm not a liberal. I didn't think I was a faggot. Oh, that's right, because only people who spell their name, the name Marc with a C, only faggots do that. So save anybody who may want to try to engage a MAGA head into an intellectual discussion. Save yourself the time. MAGA heads are not intellectuals. There's no reaching a MAGA head. It doesn't matter. You could show that Trump lied without even going to CNN. You just show he said Mexico would pay for the wall. And now he goes and calls a false state of emergency and takes our money that was stolen from us and is using it to pay. He says that China is paying the tariffs. Doesn't matter that that's not true. So, yeah. What's really disappointing here is, and then I eventually, I guess I was also trying to see how long it would take before this individual that I've known for over 35 years, how long would it take for them to block me, call me an effing a-hole, and block me? It only took correcting him maybe 3 times. And someone that I've known for 30 some odd years and wants nothing to do. All I did was fact check, because for some reason, fact checking equals libtard. Now, I guess there is a core or a certain percentage of the American population that are absolutely unreachable. You cannot convince a MAGA head that their God is 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 fallible. It's yeah. Why care about Orange Man Bad, Mark? Well, because it goes through, and we're not just talking about Orange Man Bad. We're talking about the people who follow Orange Man Bad. It's not the same as people who followed Obama. It's not the same even as people who followed George Bush. We're talking about a large number of people that are unreachable. There is no reaching these people. Thank goodness we don't need them. And just to try to, from my experience, if you haven't had it yet, don't try to change the mind of a MAGA head. They're not in it for logic. They're not in it for truth. They're not in it for any kind of moral reason. They just like somebody going after immigrants. They talk about, oh, socialism's so bad. Yet he starts a trade war with China, almost single-handedly destroys the soybean industry and other parts of the farming industry, and then has to take 12 to 16 billion dollars and transfer that wealth over to them. Oh, socialism. But you never hear a MAGA. See, that's the thing. The MAGA head won't admit that that's a redistribution of wealth. He's playing 3D chess. So anyway, it was just these flashbacks. My gosh, being called a faggot because I'm fact checking somebody. But that's what. And the thing it too. This is an internet spat. It's on Facebook, which is yes, I know it's toxic. I can't do this again. But you got a 50-year-old man threatening to come to Phoenix to beat me up. What are you going to say next? Your brother can kick my butt? MAGA hats are communist. Well, they are made. I don't know if they're necessarily communist, but they are made in Mexico. They tend to be in Mexico or made in China. So to think you've got braver people in Hong Kong than you do right here in the United States. So, these MAGA people, dangerous. No, where's the logical consistency? Where is the any kind of emphasis on what's important, on ethics, on morals, being good, standing for justice, have some kind of core principles to stand on. You're not going to get that. You typically don't get that Republicans or Democrats, people who are statists, but you really don't get it with MAGA heads. I'm being called yeah. Okay, well, let's get to people are filing in. If you want to join me on the big show, it is 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And the passcode is 2020 with the pound sign or the hashtag. Repubs are socialist light. Republicans are just as big into socialism as Democrats. It's just the only real difference is they want public ownership and payment and enforcement or management. They want it for different services. So MAGA heads want a very strong military and a very strong, Republicans in general, very big, bloated military, and they love the cops. All I did was fact check when Donald Trump, I know Orange Man Bad, stated that there was a war on police and it must end now. All I did was a fact check and show that cops aren't even in the top 10 or sometimes even the top 20 most dangerous professions. There is no such thing as a war on cops. Next thing I know, I'm a liberal faggot. So statism is a mental disorder. I don't know if it's certainly people who are statists are misguided, and I think a lot of people who are statists and will not look at the ethical. They won't look at the facts of what government really is and how immoral and grossly unethical it is. They just ignore that. it's not because they have necessarily because they have a mental disorder and can't understand. They just don't want to accept that. It's no different than when you're on the phone with the IRS. And we had this the other day. And I got the agent to a point where he agreed that the foundational claim against the guy I was working with, that the foundational legal claim against him, and I have this recorded, was an assumption. Now, you've heard me say this we've done this. I've presented this stuff on the show before. This is one of our goals when we're talking to tax agents or we're talking to any statist or anybody who's making a legal claim against us, to get them to finally admit the truth that they're making an assumption. So this agent admitted it was an assumption. Then when you start following up and it starts to dawn on them, the impact of making such an admission. If it is an assumption that you don't, especially in the tax area or you're in the legal area, if it's an assumption, it's not entitled to any presumption of correctness. End of discussion. You are not entitled to a presumption of correctness. And I'm telling you, they want to hang their hat on that presumption, every day and twice on Sunday. I mean, that's what the courts love to do. And when you get into proceedings with them, even when you show them it was an assumption by their own admission and by their own law, they're supposed to set it aside, they won't do it. They will not shift that burden because they know damn well that the IRS cannot support their foundational claim. So all he wanted to do was push us to another one. So the whole point of that is, just like with any other statist, when you get them on the facts, when you get them on the logic, they won't accept it. Even their own admissions. Well, wouldn't due process require, wouldn't you under due process and you want to be fair with us? If it was just an assumption, if you couldn't support your claim, doesn't due process require that you set it aside? Yeah, well, yeah, that would be grounds. You get them to admit it's an assumption and then it's a game changer. So like any statist, any MAGA head, instead of just addressing the facts and updating, and conforming your opinion to that and being logically and morally consistent, no, they want to slam the phone down. They want to play the State Department two-step. Well, I'm not even at the right department. I said, but you just said 5 minutes ago you were the guy. You said your department was the one. So these are things we're dealing with statists, whether they're in and or out of the government. We go through the same thing. We go through the same damn thing. So at least what we can do is start from a point of agreement and then use their contradictions against them. Now, again, a MAGA head, it doesn't matter if they contradict themselves. They don't care. They're not interested in facts and logic. They don't give a damn. Because if they were interested in facts and logic, they wouldn't be supporting somebody who cheated on his wife publicly with a porn star. His own fixer, Michael Cohen, is sitting in prison right now. He is unindicted co-conspirator. He is individual number one. This is not a matter of orange man bad. We're talking about the system itself. It's not just him. It's all the people that keep him in play. People like to say, oh, Mitch McConnell is so evil. No, it's the entire Republican Senate that keeps him as the Senate majority leader. It's not just him. If they wanted him out, he would be out tomorrow. It's the system itself. It's a system that allows somebody like Donald Trump, like Bill Clinton, like Obama, these vile individuals. I don't give a damn if they're Republican or Democrat. I'm looking at what they're doing. And when you have an immoral system that gives them a platform that they could accomplish damage on a scale that no private person could even imagine, and also enjoy absolute immunity where you could do literally whatever you want. I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote. But more important, he will not suffer one iota of punishment for shooting that person on Fifth Avenue because the system itself, Orange Man bad, is just a symptom of the disease. It is not the disease itself. So I thought I made that clear. I don't give a damn whether they call themselves Republican or Democrat. I couldn't care less. I think I want to take a more, I believe I make a more principled stand on these things. And I'm looking at the actions and comparing that to the moral code of do no harm, live honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. That's how I judge people like Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein and and Donald Trump and whatnot. That is the standard, not legal or illegal, not whether they're Republican or Democrat. I think that's absolutely just ridiculous. The double think of a status must be painful. Well, they do call it cognitive dissonance, and it is uncomfortable, certainly. And I'll, hey, nobody likes to necessarily be called out for be fact checked that you're wrong, but it's part of being an adult. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You move on. Right? I made a mistake. And I think here I have to and I have to put this on the forum. It looks like I may have been wrong regarding the Ford company and the benefit analysis that they made with the Pinto, that it was easier to cheaper to just settle the wrongful death suits than to fix the car. Apparently the data was misinterpreted, and it just took on legs, and things like that do happen in court. So I was wrong about that. And I'm still here. I was wrong, non-entity. I admit it. I see, the context was broader. I have more information. I was wrong. That doesn't mean that there aren't countless examples of businesses hurting people and deliberately hurting people. But I was wrong. But that's what you do as an adult. You learn, and you have more facts, and you have more context. Your understanding of the situation is better. And so your conclusion and your judgment on the matter changes. Lightning doesn't strike you down. You don't die instantly just because, yeah, it sucks. I went based on popular opinion, and different sources had the same thing, and it took on a life of its own since 1977. But if you're wrong, you're wrong. And here I was dead. Well, I think I was pretty wrong. So non-entity had sent me some writing about that. Someone did an in-depth analysis about that. And yep, I was wrong. Again, there are countless examples, though, of businesses engaging in unethical behavior. Look what the banks did. The banks in the real estate industry deliberately tanked the market. And we know that they deliberately tanked the market. We can see the policies. We can see what they did. And we know that they profit from it because they've testified to it. There have been people on the radio. I've spoken to real estate people. Real estate people love recessions because if we have a recession, property values tank, just like with the housing bubble. Market prices dropped. And the real estate people and the bankers that helped create the bubble now buy up with the cash that they made. So it's a nice cycle. So they deliberately tank the market because they make money off of it. So anyway, one of the things I think I titled the show this, so I have to actually get to that. And if you want to join the show, it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And one of the things, let me know if fact checking a MAGA head, does that make you a liberal faggot or just a faggot in general? Let me know what you think there. I like to, because it's not something that I was aware of. Maybe I'm wrong on that too. Maybe fact checking a MAGA head. Yeah, you are a liberal faggot. So, gosh, I'm telling you, flashbacks to high school. I want to think, what are you 12? Who the hell talks on Facebook about beating people up? All right. Yeah, that's right. 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. So, as of today, what I mentioned on the show last week, the last okay, Judge Julie Robinson in the Kansas City Federal Court, holding the entire Kansas office of the United States Attorney's Office in contempt. As of today, and I've checked every day, there is no reporting on any of the lawyers going to prison or going to jail. It was just a monetary fund. So apparently, it's business as usual. They get to just go and do whatever they want. And I'm going to have a separate video for this next bit of information because it definitely deserves its own video. But there are Supreme Court cases where they're talking about judges and prosecutors have an absolute immunity as long as they had jurisdiction. And one of the things they try to say was, look, we understand that it forecloses civil remedy, but that doesn't mean that we're ruling or have ever ruled that judges and prosecutors enjoy criminal immunity, that their immunity is only to civil actions, not criminal. And because they say, lawyers are a unique profession because they could be held accountable by their own. So, oh yeah, they're gonna hold themselves. So look, there was one attorney in United States history to ever do jail time for prosecutorial misconduct and crimes committed while on the job. One, and that is the vile cretin named Ken Anderson. And he didn't go to prison. He was given jail for 10 days. And his victim went to prison for murder he did not commit for 25 plus years. So, yeah. But that deserves its own video. To see how they're laughing at you. Well, it's not like there's no remedy. It's not like there's no remedy. We lawyers are good people, and there's no remedy. One lawyer in the entire history of the United States, one has ever been prosecuted for what he did on the job. One. So, judges criminally prosecuted. That's extremely rare. I mean, for what they did on the job, well, you have Operation Gaylord in the late 70s or early 80s, I believe. And I think there was a Judge Mahoney that actually did go to prison. But, but they're so far and few between that when the Supreme Court says that there is the remedy, you have to have more than just a remedy on paper, right? It's like with the tax court and the appellate courts. And they say, well, Mark, there is a remedy. If you don't like your decision in the tax court, you can always appeal it. That's technically true. But they hit you with such enormous sanctions that you have to be able to afford it. So, what do you think? These people are stupid? It's just like you can't sue the IRS and stop them from stealing from you. You have to pay it first. Well, all they have to do is hit you, and they do this. I've worked with people that they did this too, where even if there was a legitimate obligation, it wouldn't have been more than a few $1,000s, and they hit you with a $500,000 fine and penalties and interest. So you have to pay the $500,000 first. So what they do is they hit you with these fines and penalties, and if you can't pay them, you can't. So what they do is they take away any opportunity that you may have to be able to appeal it. So all right. And what happened recently was one of the things they got from Jeffrey Epstein. We can't forget the Jeffrey Epstein situation. And the only real updates, we got two updates. The Bill Barr, whose father gave Epstein his first job, even though teaching as a professor at a college in Manhattan, even though he didn't have a college degree. Well, William Barr, the current AG, Mr. The Iran Contra fixer, got rid of or fired the head of the federal prison system in regards to the Epstein being allowed to suicide himself. So if he in fact is dead at all. So we have that is an update. And also one of the things apparently that they got out of one of Epstein's houses was a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress and heels. So that was kind of funny. That doesn't prove anything. It's kind of weird, but what does prove something, or circumstantially at least, is that there were records to show that Bill Clinton he lied. It wasn't just a handful of times that he was on the Lolita Express. It was over 25 times. It was 25 or 26 times. So just like what I mentioned the other day, he lied about sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. He lied about how many times he was on the Lolita Express. And why was he lying? Why would he lie? Because chances are he's done something and he's wanting to cover it up. So there you go. There you go. Put the whole lot of them in prison. So anyway, we'll get to your calls. If you want to join the big show, it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And the passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. He's been on the show before. Hopefully we got some good news. We got Pat in Connecticut. Pat, welcome back to the show.
Hello?
Oh, this can't be on my
Hello?
end. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, that's not good. Hello? Is Pat on the show? We have Pat from Connecticut.
This is Pat from Connecticut.
Are we going to go through that?
Hello?
Oh, I see what I did.
Hello?
All right. I didn't plug the right thing in. We're here.
Hello?
Yeah, Pat, we got you on the big show. What you got good news for us today?
This is Pat from Connecticut, yes.
Well, you have good news?
Yeah, I do. I just, please don't be too disappointed with me. But I learned a whole lot when I was there. So anyway, it seems to me it was the second pretrial. The first pretrial was, this is just how they operate in Connecticut. I've never been there. So as we got into the courtroom, there's a number, probably about, I would say 10 people that were looking to, plea bargain, I would say. And it just so happened that they were offering, this is what they were offering. They were offering a nollie for everybody if they would agree to make a contribution to an accident victims fund, some, nonprofit organization. So everybody said, okay, no problem. And I'm like, why not, right? I'm not giving it to the state. I said, then they wanted me to wait another hour for court to start. So I said, what the heck?
All right, great. How you don't have to say. Was it less than the fine that they were trying to get from you?
Oh yeah, half. It was less than half.
Oh.
Right. So
yeah,
all the principle in the world is not going to beat that, right?
That's pretty damn good. And you're right. You didn't give it to the government mafia. That's
right. Yep. But let me tell you what I learned too, and it seems to me, and I was the last person they processed. But the kid before me who sat behind me in the courtroom, he was like from the hood, and that's where the court is in New Britain. It's like one of the hoods of Connecticut. And the way he was dressed, his attitude, it was like, I don't give a shit. And so he went up there to talk to the prosecutor, and he said, no, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll wait. I'll go to trial. And as he's walking by me, he goes, if the cop ain't here now, he ain't coming. Right. So I'm like, and here I'm thinking, you know what? I'd be willing to bet you that the state of Connecticut left guys like that fall through the cracks, because what's it going to take to field the jury? I think there was 9 seats in the jury box, and then drag the cop into court. I wouldn't be surprised if they say to heck with it. Just that one kid, who cares?
Yeah, could be. And typically if the cop doesn't show up for trial the first time, that it should be thrown out. But typically that's their way of saying I don't give a damn. I'm speculating there. Yeah, I think it's, but I think it's a pretty good inductive reasoning based on the evidence and what we've seen before.
Right. So I appreciate all your help, and it just worked out for the better.
Yeah, that's what we call some pretty good damage control. And could it, we have to be honest, did it have anything to do necessarily with the defense? Well, probably not. Probably not here. The prosecution just didn't want to. But you did prepare, you were ready to go, and the fact that they threw such
Right.
a great deal. So we'll chalk this up. This is a great deal. You did great. Did it have any?
Yep.
I'm sure I won't get any credit for this. Not that I need it, but it had nothing to do necessarily with the defense that you raised.
Right, but I was prepared, and I had notes on my folder. I was ready to go.
Well, sure, because and we
And
need to do that because we don't know that they're going to throw us a deal like that. And depending on where you
right,
are in life and why you're doing it, yeah, hey, that
right,
it turned out that was great. Again, it's not going to the government mafia, so that's it's an even bigger positive.
right, yeah, exactly. And well, here's another thing I learned. One of the things when the prosecutor talked to me, this is a different prosecutor, probably assistant prosecutor, but she goes, so she's trying to read the notes of the first time that I was in there for a plea deal or whatever. But she said, what's she saying here? And I said, well, what I explained to her is that both my front and rear tires passed the stop line before the light turned red. And she goes, oh, well, don't you know in the state of Connecticut you have to stop on a yellow light? I'm saying to myself, you sons of bitches, when is the people of the state of Connecticut going to get a break?
Oh, wow. Well, let me ask you this before you go. In the time that you did speak with this prosecutor, did you
Right.
question them on the facts supporting and the witness to support their foundational claim against you?
I did not. In fact, one of the other things too was when she was talking, she's looking at my paperwork. She goes, "What's all this stuff?" I said, "These are motions for dismissal, motions for discovery." She goes, "Oh, we don't send discovery for traffic violations." So,
well, but for minor traffic, they don't do pretrial discovery. What they do give you is the discovery immediately before the trial. So when you walk in, they're supposed to give you. So, but they don't have, yeah, they do that most places. Arizona, is no different. But they have to give you, but they still have to give you, if it's criminal, they have to give you exculpatory. They still have to give you Brady material. So that is something, and they're supposed to give you that before the trial. So the Brady is a little different as far as discovery material, if it's in fact criminal. So,
right.
All right. Well, I'm glad that it got tossed out. We have to be honest, and based on what you've told me, the deal and had nothing to do with your defense. You could have done anything and gotten the same deal. So we will make that. But I'm glad that you stood up to them, and didn't just roll over. At least initially. I mean,
right. No, I was, like I said, I had all my notes. I had been studying for the 3 days before that. I was in the morning. I was writing. I was studying. I was prepared in front of the mirror and stuff like that. Yep.
Oh, well, did you do any role playing with other people?
I didn't. No, it was tough to get people together. Especially on a weekend.
Yeah, hey, I understand. I'm trying to get back into that and do that and make that available. But for those who, when I'm doing the show and I won't be live this Saturday, but I'll be live the next Saturday and all the other Saturdays. I'll do what I can. That somebody calls that if you need to do some role playing, we do some live right now. So I want to make sure that people are prepared when they go in, and doing the role playing really does help. If you can't role play with us, then at least try some, please. Try to get to a city council meeting, because you can do your role playing there, and it's you're actually in the lion's den, so to speak, without the risk of the risk of jail. So that
right.
So maybe we'll get some more people to do that. So, well, hey, congratulations! I think that's great. Less than half the fine would have been, and it didn't go to the government mafia. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's good.
That's a win, right? I mean, you got to look at it that way.
Yeah, well, yes, you were prepared. You did stand up for yourself. You went to a second pretrial, so it's not like you weren't doing this on principle. But I got to tell you, I'm not gonna. I think that's fantastic. Great.
Yeah, great. Appreciate it, Mark.
Appreciate the call. And yeah, if you were able to get to a city council meeting, let me know. I'd like to be able to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. Yep.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for the call, Pat.
Right. Yep. And thank you. Right.
I think I dropped them a little too soon over there. I'm going to keep the call line open just in case. So it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. And hey, you got to go based on the evidence. And even though I would like to say that, hey, Pat in Connecticut challenged the evidence, challenged the foundational claims, put up an effective defense, got a great deal. They're not related. He could have done anything. He could have done nothing other than just wanting to push them out of the trial. He would have gotten the same deal. But we do have plenty of other examples on markstevens.net where the motion is granted and we go to trial and things are tossed out. So it is an effective defense. But like anything else, this is about the evidence. What does the evidence say? And that's why I also put in with the not the call of shames, but the success stories. When they're there, I will include with a success story, which I have a few. I just haven't had the opportunity to put up. We put a train wreck in so that so there's more context. So nobody is feels that they're misled or think that they're misled because maybe they watch a show or they see a video and they think it's all, yes, you go in and you argue and you make your objections and you cross-examine and it always gets tossed out and it's, it may be difficult, but boy, it goes like that. Yeah. Not always. Not always. So if you are looking to defend yourself and you want to learn how to do it more effectively, yeah, I've been able to teach a lot of people to do that. We got a lot of success, a lot of replicated success. But you are dealing with people who are less than honest, and there's a lot of moving parts. There are variables here, which it could be determined just if the judge got laid that night or that morning, or maybe he banged his secretary. It could just be that, he's having a rough time, and maybe you got him right before lunch. That could change. So whether you are a Harvard graduate lawyer or you're just some schmuck from Long Island, that's the roll of the die. And that could be what determines whether you have success that day or not. So there are these variables, and anybody who tries to talk you out of that is just lying. Judges, prosecutors, they're all individual men and women. They have their passions and prejudice like anybody does. And you could just get them on a bad day. You can get a guy who's a judge, who's a career prosecutor. The state is always right. Like these MAGA head guys. Trump is always right, regardless of what even he has said. And that's just the luck of the draw. Thank goodness we don't get too many of them, or I wouldn't be able to show any replicated success. That would be horrendous. Now you're talking about where the only way to get any kind of justice, the only way to get any, towards a voluntary society is mass civil disobedience, like not paying taxes. You're talking where all pretense of due process is gone. Like places like China, Saudi Arabia, places like that. We're not at that point in the United States. I will say this: if you're in a tax case, it's probably just like China. They do not give a damn about facts and even their own laws. They don't care about fungul. That is what you get when you have a tax proceeding against you. They couldn't care less. This Judge Robinson, I would bet the farm, if this was a tax prosecution, she wouldn't have given a damn. She wouldn't have held anybody in contempt. In a tax prosecution, they could do whatever the hell they want. But here, these were criminal proceedings, apparently weren't taxes. I say I don't have the access. Maybe if somebody with LexisNexis could go into the district court cases and find out if any of those several hundred cases were tax cases to see if they're applying, they're actually applying ethical standards and criminal, they're actually applying that to tax cases. Because in my experience, what I've read about, what I've actually witnessed, my gosh, the things that I have seen. I've seen judges literally saying to prosecutors, I am advising you to file XYZ. Holy crap. Wow. That's bad. Somebody here is saying, maybe we'll take some questions and comments here on the chat, the YouTube chat. No, statutes and codes don't apply to a man or woman, only persons / individuals, corporations, and entities. This is, look, I from what I understand, what you're trying to say there, Trev, is that according to your legal interpretation, and I will say that there's no evidence that they apply to people. But if a case, at least a prima facie case, can be made for corporations and entities, but as far as the reading of the statutes, I think it's completely false for any kind of legal interpretation that they don't apply to men. And it's this whole convoluted thing that you usually see from sovereigns or freemen on the land types, patriot types, about going through the thing about the definitions. Well, a natural person doesn't mean a man or a woman. No, I don't think there's any merit to that at all. And I've explained so many times here on the show, if you're going to go by legal interpretation, the burden of proof on that is very high. Burden of proof on an issue of fact is very low. And either they have the facts or they don't. And the problem with going through legal interpretation is they're going to have court cases that interpret it the way they want it. And if they have conflicting definitions, who do you think is going to win? So someone's saying it's semantics at best. Well, semantics is the meaning of words. I hope you're not meaning that in a way like Sean Hannity of shouting down an argument. No, it's just semantics. The words that you're using mean something. And when they say Marc Stevens, they're talking about me, not a corporation. Yeah, the words that they use do mean something. And that's why I urge to always use lay terms whenever possible. So when I'm talking with the IRS, I don't say a 1099 report of income. I talk about a compulsory report of money transferred. I personally don't give a damn about the definition of income because, one, it's a piss poor way to argue and you will lose. But two, the big thing is what's important is the evidence to support their foundational claim. You don't get to the definition and what income really is if their foundational claim of jurisdiction has no support and is literally an assumption, as they will admit if you get a halfway professional one. Okay, so BBC is saying I'm against the free man on the land arguments because the government will define their own terms and win on that front. Yeah, okay, good. So we understand. So, yeah, they're going to define it however they want. But when you're talking about issues of fact, that the Constitution is a written instrument, it forms that whether it applies because you're physically in Arizona is the foundational claim, and it's an assumption. It is an assumption. Well, how do you know that, Mark? Well, I've spoken to how many agents? I've got tax counsel, and unfortunately, it's the last call to shame I did. But I do have to work on getting more call to shames. I'm glad I didn't get off the call line, so I'm going to, we're going to get one other caller. He's been on the show before. We got Lucas from Mississippi. Welcome back to the show.
How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing good. And my caller line now works 2 times in a row. So I'm very happy about that.
Good, good. Oh, yeah. You had mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show. I'll make my little comment. Oh, yeah, about the ice raid that happened. Yeah, that's about an hour and a half away from me. Yeah, they should have locked the CEOs up. They should have also locked the hiring managers up as well.
Yep. And they have
I
at least a 7-year history of sexual abuse and harassment of the people that work there.
well, I can't comment on that because I don't know. I haven't seen that, so I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll agree with you as far as they should have locked the hiring managers up and the CEO.
Why do you think that they didn't do that?
Money. That's exactly why. Money. Mississippi is all about money.
Oh, not just Mississippi, but yes, yeah, because Coke Foods is a big supporter of President Trump.
I can't argue or deny that. I don't mess with Coke Foods, so honestly I can't say. But yes, I agree with you as far as the first part of it. Yeah, they should have locked him up, and that's all I could say about it.
Do you think the people? Do you think the 680 people, the workers, you think that they should have been arrested?
Oh, well, them not having the proper tax papers and everything like everybody else has to by the government's policies, which I don't agree with at all either. It's a long story into that. I do watch you. I try to watch you live every week, and I was trying to catch you Saturday because I've got a serious question on another note. But politics should be thrown out, completely thrown out. Everybody from your little law enforcement to the judges to the DAs, mayors, everybody from there up needs to be thrown out.
I agree. And before I'm out of time, you said you had another question. Why don't we address that before you got to go?
Yes, sir. Okay. I managed to get a traffic citation, and I've been digging into the laws and everything as to how they're written and into where Supreme Courts have ruled this and Supreme Courts have ruled that. And I know where my legal standing is, and I do have my rights that the government can't say nothing about. But Philadelphia has decided to write me a ticket for not having a tag on my vehicle.
Philadelphia?
I went to my little...
Did you say
Philadelphia, Mississippi?
There's a Philadelphia, Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
Yes, sir. Well, I went to the little hearing that they have where you got to plead. I did not plead, and I also had that on videotape. I do have my ways to get that done. But they had 2 other officers up there, and the 2 officers did not want the judge to give me the Brady discovery, which is the copy of the citation that he looks at. And I found out exactly why. It's because it's wrote down here at the very bottom on his copy, not mine. Do not drop. In very plain letters.
I want to make a distinction, though. The ticket is not necessarily Brady material. Brady material is any information that can be used to impeach the prosecution's case, such as the witness is not qualified or competent. This is discoverable material because it's ex parte communication with the judge, and that is supposed to be a very serious offense. So you actually gosh, I wish I had more time. You actually have a copy of the cop's ticket and it says do not drop on it?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir. I have it to where I can send it to you.
Oh, man. Lucas, I would love to see that. I would love to have that on there because I have not actually seen anyone that I've worked with has actually been able to get a copy of that. So if you can send me a copy of that, I'll redact what's necessary and post that. I would, yes, please. Wow.
Um, uh, well, real quick, you said it's ex parte.
Yes, it means one party.
Go ahead.
It means that it's one party. In that there's two parties to this alleged controversy, and the police officer is one party, and you're allegedly the other party, and so he's only communicating that information to the judge and not to you, and he's fairness and due process requires that anything being used against you, they have to provide you that.
Yes, sir.
So ex parte communication on the part of the cop. And no wonder, of course they don't want the judge. The judge isn't even supposed to be the one to give you that. The cop is required to give you that discovery, or the prosecutor, if there is one, not the judge. I think it's fantastic if the judge did hand you a copy. Oh, there you go. That kudos on the judge for that. You should go a little further and put the cop in jail for contempt. But hey, I'm happy just to hear that you can send me a copy of that ticket.
Yes, sir. Okay. I have pulled up your website before. Where do I go on there to where I can email you directly?
You can email me directly at it is under about, but it's markstevens@mail.com.
All right, markstevens@mail. All right. Well, I will sure do it, and I'll send it to you here shortly.
All right, great. And I want to cover something else because, so if you have another question, hold on. I don't want to forget this. You don't want to, and I have a whole video about this. You don't want to refuse to plea because you don't want the judge just to plead not guilty for you. You want to tell them that you intend on pleading guilty, but you want to know if the prosecution has met their prima facie burden. Like, is there any evidence of their foundational claim? And another thing too, it sounds like you're trying to get into legal interpretation type arguments instead of hitting the pounding away at the prosecution's factual burden. Do I have that right?
Oh, well, I'm going about it a little bit different way, but yes, it's not really the legal interpretation. I'm taking the actual legal meanings. They charged me with driving a motor vehicle without a tag. Well, by legal meaning, and this is by their own codes, is the 18 USC 31 number 6 and 10, which is a motor vehicle is any vehicle used on the roads for the purposes of commerce. That is 6, and then commerce. The purpose of commerce is under 10, which is for any fee, fare, rate, yada yada, which is your auto parts stores that deliver parts, your Pizza Huts, Uber drivers, taxis, along those lines.
Well, actually, what you're doing there, though, they're not charging you under federal law. So using a federal citation and definition is not going to have any applicability there. But what you are doing is you're making an argument based on legal interpretation or legal meaning, and that is a very high standard. They're always going to have differing or contradictory legal opinions. And if you are just pounding away at the prosecution's factual burden, it doesn't matter what another court case says. Every case is fact specific. And so if they try to give you a legal citation to answer a question of the cop's evidence, then it's irrelevant. The legal citation is absolutely irrelevant. So I would say that, based on my experience and based on the legal standard and based on the success that we've been able to replicate for all these years, you are far better and far more effective to pound away at the prosecution's evidence to support his legal claims than to try to counter his legal claim with your own legal claim or legal interpretation or legal meaning. Okay?
Yes, sir. So evidence or foundation.
Right, because one of the things I've mentioned, I've sent this so many times, At one time, the driver's license or operator's license was for commercial only, but that was over 100. Well, that was about at least 100 years ago. And what I document in Government Indicted is because of the popularity of the automobile and the obvious need for some kind of regulation, because people can die. They changed the laws. And so they created an actual driver's license for non-commercial. Okay. I go through all this in Government Indicted. And all the times you see those court cases, people quoting, it's only for commercial, they were relevant and correct at the time the court passed it. But once the legislatures changed it, now the example I use in Government Indicted is from the Illinois Supreme Court. Once they changed the laws, those cases were no longer relevant. Okay, so they were in effect overturned. So you have to address the current law. I think it's better that instead of getting into legal meaning and interpretation, hit their foundational claim. And if they can meet that, then the legal interpretation of meanings is relevant. But they're not relevant until they can prove their foundational claims.
Okay.
So if you go through the call of shames that I've done and what I've posted, I typically will always go, I'll follow the same pattern. I get them to tell me and agree to what their foundational claim is. Look, you are operating under the presumption, because I'm physically in Arizona, that your Constitution applies, and that gives you jurisdiction and creates obligations on me. And so, well, yes, of course. Well, duh, that's the way it works all over. All right. Now you want to know what your goal is, to bring out why they think that's true. Is it based on facts? Can they support it logically? And they can't. They absolutely can't. That's why you'll get these trolls where they'll turn around and they'll tell you, well, law doesn't require evidence. Well, I don't accept that. And even their own code, they don't accept that. That's ridiculous. So when you've got somebody making a foundational claim against you, and then they turn around and say, I don't have to prove that, who's the con man? Who's raising the frivolous argument here? Right?
Right. I agree with you fully.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that. Well, look, when is your next court date? Because hopefully we have at least, another couple of shows before, so that we can talk about this more and get you better prepped.
Yes, sir. We'll have a couple more to go. See, that hearing was Monday, and my next one, which is going to be in front of the DA, should be there, or her. Well, the prosecutor. Let me correct that. The prosecutor and her are supposed to be there, and that's going to be on the 4th of September.
Oh, that's coming up. All right, but you still have some time. So join me again here and call earlier, so we can address this much earlier in the show regarding these issues.
Yes, sir. I'm going to try to. As soon as I heard the call line was open, I called. Need to work on your signal just a little bit, because it buffered a good bit, and we're working on satellite internet as well, but even my data wasn't wanting to pick you up from town on my cell phone.
Okay, well that's you don't have to. You just we start at 3 Pacific time. Just call. I always have the call line before I almost always have the call line before I start the show. So I don't have to do it during the show. You have to go look at my rear end. But just call early, and we'll talk more about this. Okay?
Yes, sir. I'll see if I can do that. Usually during those times, because that's about the time I get off of work, because of where you're at. And you can see right now it's 6:08 here.
Okay.
So it's probably closer to 3, maybe 4 o'clock there.
Yeah, we're just a little after 4 o'clock here, so I have to wrap it up. But definitely call earlier on the next Wednesday show next week. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I appreciate the call, Lucas in Mississippi. I have to go. I do want to reiterate how important it is not to try to get into the trap of arguing legal interpretation. Because one of the most important things here regarding that is it doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if your legal interpretation is accurate and is coming right from the text. You have to understand, and I'm not making this up. I've had plenty of people call the show and verify this. Nobody gives a damn about what you or my legal interpretation is when you go to court. The judge doesn't give a damn. The prosecutor couldn't care less. The cop isn't even going to understand it. And the jury, if there is one, they barely can understand it either. They don't care. And the fact that they probably won't understand the minutia of these stupid legal interpretation type things, what they can understand is when the witness isn't qualified, or that they're not competent, when the prosecutor actually objects to his own witness. They may be bewildered. They may not understand exactly why the prosecutor is not allowing you to question the cop, but they know that the cop is not competent. Why? Because the prosecutor said he wasn't competent. The judge said he wasn't competent. So you don't have to fight to try to get the jury to accept that, because you're not the one saying it. The lawyers are. And the judge is the only acknowledged legal expert in the room. And it's folly. It really is stupid to try to convince anyone in the courtroom that the judge is not the legal expert there. So when you ask the witness, what facts did you rely on to support your claim that just because I'm physically in Arizona, your laws apply and give you jurisdiction? When the prosecutor jumps out of his chair right on cue, like they always do, and screams, objection, calls for a legal conclusion, the witness is not competent to testify, and the judge turns around and without any input from you whatsoever, because it's all reflex, it's all just rubber stamp. The judge, I'm telling you, when the judge says the witness is not qualified, the jury knows, oh, the witness is not qualified. And now you can object and you can argue, or you can say in closing statements, you heard the judge say that the cop, the only witness against me, was incompetent. He was the one that made the determination of probable cause, and the judge said, and his own attorney said, he wasn't qualified to do that. They do it almost every time. There's only 2 reported cases where they haven't done that. So we made it quite a while without some trolls. Oh, good Lord. I'm not even going to address that crap. Maybe I'll just take a moment. For those who may not know, I'm being accused once again of still misinterpreting personal firsthand knowledge. I guess because I'm an idiot. Personal firsthand knowledge of the matters you're testifying to. So to keep it simple is you're not making your statements and your conclusions based on just because someone told you that this is the way it is. You personally witnessed something. You personally know the veracity of the claim that you're making. So one of the things the police officer is one of the matters he's testifying to is the laws apply and you violated them. You asked them, did you you even asked the prosecutor, is it your operating presumption if I'm physically in Arizona, the laws apply? They'll tell you that. And so if that's a matter that they're testifying to, they have personal knowledge, not that they learned that in law school, not that they were told that in the police academy. So Rule 602 is pretty clear. They have to have personal knowledge of the matters they're testifying to. And if I was so wrong about that, why every time you ask that question, do the judge and the prosecutor say that the witness is not qualified to testify? He can't testify and give facts that supported his claim? We made it how many shows without this damn troll? If you're going to make a legal claim and you testify affirming that legal claim, the facts that you based it on Fair game. So you can try to argue legal minutia. Well, you're just not understanding what personal knowledge is. Well, even take personal knowledge completely out of it. Did you make this determination of probable cause? You did. What facts did you rely on? So don't fall for this stupid coffee house smoke, nonsense. Somebody makes a claim, they have to support it. They have to have personal knowledge. They have to have facts. So we could talk more about that on the next show. Unfortunately, I will not be live on this Saturday show, but I will be live on the Wednesday show. And if someone does have dissent, just pick up the phone and call 218-632-9399, and we'll hash it out like adults live, not on YouTube chat. That doesn't really ever accomplish anything. That's almost as toxic as Facebook. But appreciate the support of the show if you want to do so. It's to markstevens.selz.com. That's SELZ. That's markstevens.selz.com and markstevens.net. And till next time, we'll be live on next Wednesday. Till then, salud.